The checkout line had come to a complete halt. Tension hung in the air like static before a lightning strike. Customers stared, stunned, as the store manager's voice echoed through the aisles. The young cashier's eyes welled up with tears as the man towered over her, jabbing a finger in her direction. But no one knew the quiet man near the cereal aisle was the store's real owner, and what he did next would leave everyone speechless. Welcome to Whispers of Kindness, the place where simple acts of humanity change lives. Here, we share real stories that illuminate the strength of compassion, the ripple effect of goodness, and the quiet power of doing the right thing. Today's story is one of hidden wealth, public cruelty, and an unexpected act of justice that reminds us all why kindness must always win. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when Thomas Wilkes walked into his own store dressed in an old flannel shirt, dusty jeans, and a worn cap. At 67, he had seen the world change in 1,000 ways, but nothing ever prepared him for what he saw that day. Thomas had started the supermarket chain decades ago with nothing but a loan, a dream, and a heart full of purpose. He believed in fair wages, community service, and above all, treating people with dignity. Though his company had expanded into a multi-state chain, Thomas never lost touch with his roots. Once a month, he would pick a random store, go in unannounced, and observe everything without revealing who he was. That day, he chose store number 37. Dressed like any other senior on a grocery run, Thomas walked through the automatic doors and began browsing the cereal aisle. He liked to observe the shelves, the organization, the staff behavior. But just as he was reaching for a box of oats, a loud, hostile voice cut through the buzz of the store. "Are you deaf, or just plain stupid?" Thomas turned, alarmed. The voice belonged to a stout, red-faced man in a navy blue blazer. He was standing at the checkout lane, screaming at a young cashier. The girl, no older than 20, looked crushed. Her name tag read, Heather. "I told you I had a coupon. Why would I shop here if I'm not saving money?" Heather fumbled with the keys on the register. "I'm sorry, sir. The system isn't accepting expired coupons. I just..." "Then override it. Do your job. God, you're useless." The people in line behind him watched uncomfortably. Some looked away. A mother tried to shield her child's ears. No one spoke up. Except Thomas. He calmly stepped out of the aisle, walked to the scene, and leaned against a support beam, watching quietly. His eyes weren't on Heather. They were on the man. It took only seconds for Thomas to recognize the man. Rick Madsen. District manager. On payroll for 5 years. Always had numbers on target. But Thomas had heard whispers, a few employee complaints, HR reports swept under the rug. Nothing ever proven. Until now. Rick slammed his hand on the counter. Heather flinched. "Next time you mess up, don't bother coming back." That was it. Thomas stepped forward and spoke calmly, "I think you should stop." Rick turned, ready to snap at the stranger. "Excuse me?" "I said," Thomas repeated, removing his cap, "you should stop. Right now." The room fell silent. Heather's teary eyes shifted to the older man. Rick blinked in confusion, then recognition. Mr. Wilkes?" Gasps rippled through the line. Cameras on smartphones began to rise. Thomas nodded. "Yes. And I wish I weren't. Because watching you berate this young lady, threaten her job over a policy she followed correctly, makes me ashamed to have you represent this company." Rick opened his mouth to speak, but Thomas raised a hand. "No. You don't get to explain. You've had 5 years of reports, complaints, red flags. And now, in front of customers, you've confirmed it all." He turned to Heather. "You did nothing wrong. And you're not going to lose your job." Her lip quivered, but she nodded slowly. Thomas turned back to Rick. "You, however, are done. Leave. Now. Rick stood frozen for a moment, face pale. Then, without a word, he walked out of the store. Thomas placed a gentle hand on Heather's shoulder. Take a break. And when you're ready, come to the office. You deserve to be heard. Customers burst into applause. A man near the fruit stand wiped his eyes. Someone shouted, "About time." The video went viral that same night. Within days, news outlets picked it up. Disguised millionaire stands up for cashier. People flooded the store with letters, flowers, and words of encouragement. Heather later revealed she had been saving for nursing school. A local scholarship fund reached out. Donations poured in. Thomas didn't comment much in the media. When asked, he simply said, "A good business isn't built on numbers. It's built on people." Heather not only stayed in her job, she got promoted to assistant floor supervisor 2 months later. And with the help of the community, she began nursing school the following fall. She now balances both roles, inspired to someday become a nurse who protects the vulnerable, just like someone once protected her. Thomas, meanwhile, launched a company-wide kindness initiative. Every employee, regardless of role, had to go through a new training course on empathy, communication, and respect. Anonymous feedback systems were improved. Whistleblower protections were strengthened. And every month, Thomas still visits stores. Still watching. Still listening. But now, his team knows, kindness isn't just a virtue, it's policy. If you were moved by this story, remember, you don't have to be a millionaire to make a difference. Stand up when it matters. Speak when others go silent. Kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about small moments where you choose humanity over silence. Subscribe to Whispers of Kindness and share this story with someone who needs to believe that good still exists in the world. In a world that often rewards power, let us remember, true strength lies in compassion. You never know who's watching. And sometimes, the quietest voices hold the greatest authority. Let this story echo in your heart. Because kindness is never wasted. Not ever.